Hello, beautiful people. This is Sheila V here today for a podcast about authenticity. Now, authenticity is a word that is really bantered around a lot. A lot of people, a lot of coaches talk about authenticity, becoming authentic. How do we do that? Uh, for me personally, becoming authentic and stepping into my authenticity has been one of the most challenging journeys of my life. So this will not be the only podcast I do about it. Basically, because there's so many techniques and tools and mindset needed. Hello and welcome to Brave Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila V. This podcast is all about helping you get brave, courageous, and confident to make real and lasting changes in your life so that, yes, you are living your truth. I'm here to help you navigate your spiritual awakening, to guide you how to heal from trauma in your past, and to manifest the life that you know you deserve. You are powerful, you are divine, and I'm here to remind you that you can achieve anything that you want in your life. I am a transformation coach, a spiritual teacher, a business mentor, a speaker, an author, and a badass brave woman. And I am obsessed with women bravely and courageously showing up to live their life with no apologies. And I cannot wait to get into today's episode with you. Fundamentally, I truly believe we're all here to walk a life of authenticity. And it's not something that happens overnight. For anyone listening in that's looking for a quick fix solution, it won't happen overnight, yet you can start changing your life overnight. And consistently making what I call little brave acts every day is how you take your life towards a life of authenticity. But today, in today's podcast, I'm going to cover many things. So the first thing I'm going to cover is why have we been so inauthentic for so long? Why have we not had a life of authenticity? So it basically starts back in our childhood, where we had one of our first woundings. And one of our early woundings is around feeling abandoned, feeling like we don't belong, feeling like there's a desperate need to be accepted. Now, all of this behavior tends to happen under the age of 3. It could be under the age of 5. But one of the first woundings is I need to belong. Now, this is such an incredible need for us as humans, as women, especially as we grow up. There's a lot of conditioning in society to belong for survival. But under the age of 3, that need to belong taps into our reptilian brain, the creature part of our brain, all the way back here in survival mode. So as we get older and we start becoming more independent and autonomous and wanting to make decisions that really align with who we are, head and heart, that becomes very difficult. And so in the need to belong to a culture, a social group, our family, that's a massive one. Peers, the person we marry, friends from high school or primary school, in the need to belong to that group as we get older, we do something that's called abandoning ourselves. And abandoning ourselves is one of the quickest ways that we can move away from being authentic and leading an authentic life. So, what does this look like on a practical level, being inauthentic? And I'll speak from my experience. There's, infinite possibilities of way we can be inauthentic. However, I'll speak to my life, and I'll also throw in examples from clients that I've coached and what I see commonly amongst women. So, primarily, I'm Southeast Asian, born in Australia, but in my culture, being Sri Lankan, achieving and goal setting and achieving success is really important in my culture. And success looks a certain way. It tends to have a job title and a salary and a level of significance with that, right? So I got conditioned that to belong to this culture, I had to be very successful. So when I got out of uni, I immediately set myself up for a career that involved a job title, high income earning, something I could be proud to talk about at a dinner party. The whole time for the next sort of 15, 20 years, it was a big journey of self-abandonment because underneath I was truly spiritual. I was a medium. I was a psychic. Those words are weird and woo-woo. A lot of people struggle with those words. It can be very triggering. And because I knew that my culture, my family, some friends, people around me, I felt very fearful that they would judge me. They would abandon me, or I would abandon myself if I told them, because I would have to run a mile. I was so fearful and scared that I decided to stay in the closet, right? So that's the first big way I abandoned myself, is how I chose my career and how I chose to define myself in terms of success and earning money. It's one of the primary ways we can abandon ourselves. Now, why is this such a big thing? So many people, well, we're all starting side hustles now, a lot of us, okay? Why? Well, we're living longer, okay? So if we're living longer, we're definitely going to be having 2 or 3 careers in a lifetime. And in one of my earlier podcasts, I talk about purpose. Now, purpose involves constantly evolving our career, and it might involve ending one career to start another. Now, this is what I had to do. I had to quit my big corporate executive role to step into starting to work as an intuitive healer and a reader. And that involved not abandoning myself and becoming more authentic. So becoming more authentic in our lives means becoming more honest in the way we want to live in all aspects of our life. Now, inauthenticity may not appear in all parts of our life. And a lot of clients I coach, they're very authentic as mothers, as partners, in many aspects of their life. But when it comes to starting up their mentoring or coaching or spiritual business, they freak out because it involves potentially not being accepted by their partners, their husbands, mother-in-laws, their kids. They're fearful of what people think. The minute we care about what someone thinks about our decision is the minute that we start being inauthentic. The minute we start betraying ourselves is the minute we start caring, what do they think about the decision I'm about to make? And so the path of authenticity will probably be a little bit painful at times, because we're going to have to disappoint family and friends, husbands and wives, people that expect us to turn up a certain way. And most commonly, that's the way we've been turning up for the last 20, 30, 40 years in their life. People like stability. They like predictability. And the minute you start changing and evolving towards a more authentic version of you means that it might be uncomfortable for them. So the path to becoming more authentic is always going to start with, how do we stop abandoning ourselves? This is one of the earliest questions one of my mentors asked me well over a decade ago. I started getting into personal development work in my late 20s. Everyone was getting married, having kids, getting their life together. And my life, quite frankly, was a shit show. It just was a mess. And I just remember thinking, I don't know why things are so messy in my life. There was definitely trauma in my childhood. I didn't know how to figure it out. So I started to read every self-help book I could get my hands on. I'm now 47. So what's this? Doing the maths. Was that 18 years ago? Well before podcasts. I'd sit in the back of libraries. Secondhand bookstores were my favorite because they had the best books, books that were out of print, books from overseas. And I started the journey. And so one of the first things I had to discover is where I'm abandoning myself. So if you're doing some journal writing, I encourage you to get a journal out and start writing, where am I abandoning myself? Now, this might be a triggering question for you. It might be hard to be honest with yourself in answering it, and that's okay. But just asking yourself the question and starting to contemplate the answer, where am I abandoning myself, will start to get you present to the things you might need to start changing. Okay. Now, authenticity is always something that is going to be evolving. So leading an authentic life is also leading a life that's not static. You're constantly going to be changing and growing. So authenticity also requires us to be adaptable. So the first step is, how do I stop abandoning myself? The second is, how do I be adaptable? So just a little bit about my career. I was a very successful CFO, Chief Financial Officer in publishing. Earned a lot of money, got to the C-suite, always wanted to do that as a woman, was really like the women's empowerment kind of thing, for such a long time. got there, and then I started to honor myself. I realized I had these intuitive gifts as a medium, as a healer, as a channeler, all that kind of stuff. So I quit that job and I started to work kind of full time in this space. Then after a while, I realized I've got this calling to write a book. So I wrote my book, Brave, Courageously Live Your Truth. Courageous, let me say that again, courageously live your truth, which is being authentic. And so to be authentic, I had to constantly let some part of my life, career, or purpose go and step into a new version. So to write this book, I had to kind of dial down my spiritual work to write the book. Now, many years later, I now do corporate keynote speaking and corporate leadership training about what it means to be a brave leader in the corporate world. Now, to do that work, I had to stop doing some of the programs I was running. I had to sort of pivot my business. Now, it's not just about business, it's about life. Being authentic means constantly being authentic to new choices and decisions at any point in our life. So after you've got some practice in being authentic, which I had, when I got brave finally and I quit my job and I started to go, what do I want to do with my life? And I was like, I want to be a healer. I want to sit at the psychic fairs. I mean, I don't do that anymore. But there was a time I loved that kind of thing. I thought, this is exactly where I want to be. Then after a while, doing the psychic mediumship fairs didn't seem in alignment anymore. I studied trauma, became passionate about that. Then that didn't feel as in alignment, and I started to do corporate speaking. Now, all of this whole journey has been a complete journey towards authenticity, because authenticity is about choosing something in alignment for who we are in every moment. So it's not a thing we do on the weekend. It's not something we tap into in a workshop, though you will be given tools. I truly believe authenticity is about little brave acts every day. And so a lot of people have asked me, Sheila, how do you do it? I do talk about this in my coaching programs. It's called Awakening Intuition. I've got one called The Brave Woman. I run retreats. I do readings, all of that. If you're interested, definitely check out my website. But for you right now, it is a daily mantra. Question you ask yourself is, how do I honor myself today? How do I stop abandoning myself today? Is the first most important steps towards authenticity. You might want to also look around your life and go, how am I people pleasing? What am I doing every day that I'm doing from a place of feeling loved, needed, or to feel like I'm pleasing someone? And I know I'm being inauthentic because when I'm doing that task, activity, in that conversation, my whole body is telling me no or screaming no, or I'm feeling very icky, or I'm feeling the emotion of resentment and anger come up before, during, or after the experience. Now, if you're feeling anger and resentment, it is a sign. Emotions are feedback. I'm abandoning myself. Saying yes to go out, when you're exceptionally tired. Saying yes to stay back at work when you're like, I'm so done, I need to go home and rest. Saying yes to things when the real answer and the authentic answer is no, is your feedback system. The only way we become more authentic is by looking at the feedback system of our life every day, in every moment. Now, we can't live perfect lives. I get it. There's some days we've got to compromise and we're working mums and you just got to meet deadlines. I get it. It's a part of life. But you're being inauthentic when there is a build up and you're doing this day in, day out. And there's this growing anger and resentment that's building up. And that's the lack of authenticity that's in your life. Okay. I'm not talking about one-off events. When I work hard, and I've got some big deadlines, I schedule in rest. So there's no inauthenticity. It's a commitment to a deadline or a project, and there is scheduled in rest to revive myself, to get back my energy, to take care of myself. So that's how I live, more in a harmonious way. Inauthenticity will show up every day, and you'll feel like a level of hope and a level of despair, a level of sadness. And there might be this ever-pervasive feeling of it's never going to change. That's how we know we're also being inauthentic. When I had my corporate job, And I was terrified of leaving and following my spiritual purpose, running this business. I felt it's so much conflict, and there was this ever pervasive, it's never going to change. I don't know how I'm going to change my life and be authentic with myself. So there's a level of despair when we're being inauthentic. And I will say this, I've seen this with a lot of coaching clients. If you're feeling despair, reach for a mentor or a coach very quickly, because it's a kind of a sign you're on the edge of a breakthrough. You're about to hit rock bottom, and you're also about to basically go through one of the biggest changes in your life. When we're being inauthentic, we can only do it for so long, because after a while our body starts to get ill, the depression starts to kick in. And if you're feeling all of that, work with someone, because the journey to authenticity will require a lot of pattern interrupts. You're going to have to interrupt your thoughts, your mindsets, your habits. You're going to have to make some, I call it courageous phone calls, like to start to change the direction of your life. I had to call a lady in a crystal shop to get a gig as a psychic reader. And I remember being so scared. And I remember being so scared to walk into my boss's office, because I was a full-time CFO. CFO is a full-time job, being an executive, 5 days a week. And I asked him, can I do it in 4? I want to spend one day starting to work in my spiritual business. I mean, that took balls. That was bravery. Okay. And bravery 101. And I did it. And so authenticity is always coupled with action. You cannot be authentic in your head. It might start in your head with new mindsets and emotions, but a truly authentic life is going to be one where it's lived through brave actions consistently every day. And that is how I've changed the course and direction of my life. It's because I'll sit in the pain body for a long time, and I'll have a lot of inner conflict. It's a very important and normal part of the process. So don't get down on yourself if you're feeling this way. But at some point in time, it's got to flip, and we've got to move into brave action towards an authentic life. And generally, when we are mapping out our life in a new course or direction, we need support, because we've got so many blind spots, so many blind spots. Anytime that it gets too hard or we get triggered, we go back to the old, inauthentic version of ourselves. Not because it feels great, but because it feels familiar. And as humans, we like familiar and safe over feeling courageous and a little bit out of our comfort zone. We prefer familiar, even though we're unhappy there. And that was me for many years. Now, the last point I want to make is about intuition. Authenticity is highly aligned with intuition. And intuition can only be accessed when the body is done a lot of healing and our nervous system's healed. So why is intuition so important? There might come a point in your life, and in my book, Brave, I've got a whole chapter called The Leap of Courage. Now, when you're taking big, courageous leaps in your life, there's a very good chance you're going to be leaping into a space that's very unfamiliar. There's no point of reference. Family and friends around you will not be able to give you a lot of advice. You might be an intergenerational trauma breaker in your family. So you're doing something that potentially no one in your family has done. So that's going to be very threatening to them. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't even know if this thing's going to work, right? And because of all of that, intuition will be the strongest beacon of light. When you start tapping into your intuition, and this is more my mediumistic woo-woo stuff coming through, when you start getting very courageous and wanting to be authentic, it's inevitable that all the guides around you, higher beings, come in close, and your channel starts to open up. Courage is always rewarded with high vibrational beings around you, right? So that's been my experience, and for all the clients. Now, you'll know you're being authentic because your intuition has opened up, and you'll start receiving a significantly high level of signs and synchronicity in your life. You'll start seeing repeated numbers. You'll start feeling and knowing signs are around you, guiding you towards greater amounts of authenticity. So even if you're feeling nervous and scared, there's a part in your body that will know that your intuition is right, and that you can't go back. Okay. That's how you know you're starting to get well on your way to starting to live an authentic life. So let me just, in a very practical way, describe what an authentic life looks like. An authentic life is being in a relationship where you are being honored and the person treats you with love and kindness. It doesn't mean it's a perfect relationship, but your body knows that you are not betraying yourself within the relationship. In every relationship prior to my marriage, my soulmate I met, I was inauthentic. I constantly betrayed myself to please the person, to feel loved, to ensure they didn't leave. I had a very disorganized attachment style. I was terrified every partner would leave. So after a while, I became highly anxious, right? Authenticity is to be in a relationship where you're not betraying yourself. You're not betraying your actions, your needs, your wants, your desires. That's what that looks like in practice. Authentic relationships and authenticity at work is when you can speak up comfortably to your boss, to your colleagues about how you feel, about how you're being treated, about the work environment, about the workload. The honest truth in companies, authenticity might be uncomfortable because we might have to be honest with the way things are being done. But if we speak kindly and respectfully to one another and we find a way to courageously speak our truth, we can find a way to constantly honor ourselves in our corporate job. We don't have to betray ourselves working long hours or put up with kind of bullying or language that doesn't work. Authenticity is every single moment of every single day. Authenticity is also, how can I truly take care of myself? So a different spin on authenticity is like, how can I actually be more disciplined? Authenticity isn't always the easier road. Authenticity is, I want to have this vision. I'm going to be honest with myself fundamentally about how I eat, how I physically take care of myself. So this is a really kind of short episode about authenticity. I just wanted to start speaking about it because so many people that I coach start with me really incongruent with their life. So they're wanting to meet their soulmate, they're wanting to make more money, they're wanting to be successful, yet the way they're making decisions in life will ensure that they don't get there. And so I have to take them on a pathway. I call it the courageous path for the brave woman. And basically, it's a journey of healing where we start to heal trauma, bring home the inner child, regulate the nervous system. And when that happens, it's really magical and miraculous because in every moment, I notice my clients tapping into their intuition. And when something feels off, they respond immediately. They don't react, no, but they respond in a way that's kind to the person and kind to themselves. And then in that way, that is how we start living an authentic life. So I hope this has shed a little bit of tools for you on authenticity, some journal prompts, just some insights, some storytelling. If you want to work with me, book a one-on-one psychic medium intuitive oracle session. Check out my awakening program, my Brave Woman launches. I've got a retreat coming up. Check out my website, sheilav.co. Love that you've tuned in. Share this with anyone that you think could do with a dose of authenticity in their life. Big hugs and love. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. I'm filled with gratitude for you. I honor you for choosing you, your personal growth, and your evolution. Thank you for letting me into your world. It has been a privilege. Now do me one favor, one big thing. Share this podcast with a soul sister or brother who needs to hear this. My mission on planet Earth is to help as many people as possible so we can be bold, be brave, and be courageously ourselves. I'll see you on the next episode.